Last time in class, we graphed the sine and cosine function parent graphs, just like the ones you see here. Today we're going to focus on translating these functions. In the investigation, you took a look at y equals a sine b x plus c plus d, where a, b, c, and d are the parameters that affect the sine graph. You should have noticed that a changes the amplitude, b changes the period. If you want to find the period of the sine function, you need to use the equation 2 pi over b to calculate the length of the period. C is the horizontal shift, and D is the vertical shift that moves the midline up and down. So here, the midline is the vertical shift, that's D. The horizontal shift is where your sine function starts. The period is the length of one cycle. And then the amplitude is the length from the highest point on the curve to the midline. Now we're going to graph y equals 3 sine 2 parentheses x minus 2 pi plus 1. First thing to do is identify all of the parameters. Our midline is at the horizontal line y equals 1. The amplitude is 3. The period is 2 pi over b. In this situation, b is equal to 2. 2 pi over 2 is equal to pi. And lastly, the horizontal shift is at pi over 2 to the right. The reason why we go to the right is because we're subtracting that pi over 2. The first thing that goes on your graph is the midline. There it is at y equals 1. The cycle starts at the horizontal shift. So the cycle is going to start at positive pi over 2. And then the next we're going to find the endpoint of our cycle using the period. So we start at pi over 2 and we're going to move all the way across to 3 pi over 2 to give us a period length of pi. We got 3 pi over 2 from adding pi over 2 plus pi equals 3 pi over 2. Your sine function is going to cross through the midline one more time at pi. We need 1 point at the amplitude above the midline and 1 point at the amplitude below the midline. The last thing to do is connect your points to create the sine curve. The cosine curve is going to function in a very similar way. A tells you the amplitude, B helps you find the period, C is the horizontal shift, D is the midline. The only difference is that cosine starts from the highest point and then starts moving down. So here we have y equals cosine x plus pi over 4 minus 3. Midline is the d value, y equals negative 3. The amplitude is 1 because we don't have a coefficient in front of the cosine. The period is going to be 2 pi over 1. The b value is also 1. And we're shifting this one pi over 4 to the left because it's positive. The midline goes on the graph first at y equals negative 3. The first point that's going to go on our graph is going to be at the negative pi over 4, and it's going to be the amplitude above the midline. Sine, we started our points on the midline. Cosine, we start at the amplitude above. We're going to count over a period of 2 pi. So negative pi over 4 plus 2 pi is going to give us 7 pi over 4. The halfway point is going to be at 3 pi over 4, and we're going to go down the amplitude. So this point's going to be below the midline. And then our final 2 points are where we cross the midline. Last thing to do is connect your points in a cosine curve.